All right, press record. Hi guys,
Hi.
Kim and Ginger show. Okay, so just going to run quickly over what we're going to be talking about today. The first one's about hum hum. So it's about we're talking about bees and mosquitoes and stuff and humming. The second thing we're going to be talking about is the old story of manifestation. We've been spending a bit of time with luminous purple petunia.
She's lovely.
She is
Have to
lovely.
say, I just have to say, she's lovely. What a great fun time we have.
And she was talking to me about manifestation the other day, and I thought I'd share it all with you. We're going to be talk about the word depressed. We're going to be talking about opposites on the zodiac, the water energy in Pisces. We're going to be talking about pentacles, um, doing a picture, and also seven deadly sins. We're going to be talking about a bit about the Olympics. And then we're going to be talking about one of my old videos called Six Sun Clock or Sea Lock. Okay, so back to Hum Hum. Um, so we came across this thing. Whoops, I can't minimize this. Okay, all right. Well, I can share the screen. I'm going to share the screen. And then the other day, I came across this. I'm just going to might cut us off. Oh, we're not cut off, are we?
No, we're still here.
Okay, all right. So we came across this the other day, which is not signed by anybody, but we had a conversation about it. And it says, do you know you can't have thoughts while you're humming? When you hum, you are creating space between your thoughts and your nervous system. And this can help you to regulate and feel less anxious and overwhelmed.
Can I just say, this is the first time I've read the whole thing because when we were looking at this the other day, I started humming after the first question. And my brain wouldn't allow me to take in the other information. I could not continue reading while humming.
That's all it'll be.
I couldn't do it.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah.
So, what we were saying about this is we're talking about bees and we're talking about uh that. We're talking about bees and we're talking about this friend of mine had a gigantic beehive in the roof of her bedroom, which was the what are they called? Cavity between the bedroom and the upper floor.
Like an
And
attic.
and she was doing a renovation on a house and I think she was putting a light switch in and the guy drilled a hole in the roof and about a million bees flew out at him. And we were talking about how healthy that is to have a beehive in your roof because the bees are one of the highest vibrations. They're humming all the time or buzzing. Um, and what we were saying about the beehive in the roof, I can't remember now.
Well, it's the the hive mind. It's the queen. The queen is served by many workers, and it is a great honor, I think, to have the bees take residence in your home. Not that I'd want to live with them
No.
that close. I'm happy to support them in the garden, but they can stay in the garden.
Yeah.
I prefer that. I think you were saying a little more about how she
Oh,
became comfortable. She became comfortable with it, didn't she?
she was okay with it. She's completely okay with it. And I'm like,
That's,
there's like 1,000 bees in her bedroom, and I'm going, the bedroom window's wide open. And she's going, I'll be all right. And I'm going, you're going to sleep here tonight? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, really? Anyway, she got stung 5 times during the night.
Nay.
And then we were having the conversation the next day about the fact that the more you get stung by a bee, the less or the more risk you have of going into anaphylactic shock. And then it must have been Purple Petunia that was talking about it, but she was saying how if you get stung so many times, there's evidence that your immunity, each time you get stung, your immunity drops.
Hmm.
So anyway, she got stung 5 times that night, but she was all right with it. I mean, there's no way I would have slept with with 1,000 bees in my bedroom. It wouldn't have happened, you know. I wouldn't have
No,
slept
I'd
with
have,
it.
I'd have been out of there. I wouldn't have been okay either, Kim.
No, no, I'm not that
Not
brave.
not a chance.
I don't
What
know
I
what.
find interesting about the bees is the size of their wings. When you look at the size of their body, and then they have typically really tiny little wings. And those little wings is not what's elevating them. They're being elevated by their hum. That's what some people are suggesting. It's their it's their om. I think it's like an om,
That's
you
what I
know,
was.
that
Yeah, the
making those sounds that
Mm,
that we've been taught to make, and I feel like there's a reason for that. This is what elevates the bee. And when we learn our true root language, because I feel our language is corrupted, I think it'll involve more humming and
mm,
sounds
mm.
and not so many words.
You feel like when you do and you can feel it in your throat chakra, you know, like
Oh yeah,
maybe it's a way
the
of
Taurus.
clearing the
It's a
throat
Taurus
chakra.
field. Yes, absolutely.
And totally.
Yeah, because
One of
it's a
the
release of energy. It's using that throat chakra to release energy.
one of the things that my mum told me was that as a young baby, I was a few months old, and I was sitting up, and I got really, really bad case of the flu. And she said she thought I was dying. She thought I was that ill that I was dying. And she
Oh
said I
no.
sat up cross-legged in bed and I was humming and I was rocking backwards and forwards humming. And she thought that I was something wrong with me. But she said I cleared it. So um the I don't know whether I mean I don't recall doing that. Obviously I was just a baby. I don't know where it came from. Might have been channeled.
Your
Um,
instincts. You were,
mm,
at that age, I feel like we're still really tuned to our instincts.
mm, yeah. But she said I cleared it and I was okay. Oh,
I believe
she
that.
didn't say I cleared it. She said that it just went away after that. But she said it freaked her out anyway.
Oh, I bet.
So we also talked a little bit about mosquitoes, and I don't know, there's a lot of people have got a thing about being bitten by mosquitoes, and you think about the blood sucking aspect, the fact that they transfer blood from one person to another person. It's quite vampiric in like a vampire, you know,
Very
mosquitoes.
much so. Very
Um,
much so. It, we were trying to figure out what the spiritual purpose of them is. Like, what is the meaning? Why do we have them? I've been inundated this year. This is the first year that we've lived here that it was unbearable. My
yeah,
dogs didn't even want to go outside.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've only seen one, I think, this year, but where I live, we get a lot of them, a lot, but they don't bother me very much. But I think that they don't bother me because I eat a lot of garlic
I think you're
generally,
right.
and and then
I'm the
again,
same. Others are complaining, and I'll think to myself, well, I kind of know your diet, and you'll eat a lot of sugar, whereas I'm not so much sugar and a lot of garlic and other herbs and spices,
mm,
and I've never had this problem before. It's been like I've wondered, are they drones? What are we dealing with? They're like killer mosquitoes. They were really determined little devils,
yeah. And then you were
little
saying
vampires.
you thought that that's how somebody originally came up with the idea of Tai Chi. Or was it Tai Chi? It's like,
Yes, I think I know where it came from. Defending yourself with the mosquitoes.
all right. So, then we were going to talk about emotions. So, not emotions, about manifestation. So, when Jan Purple Petunia was talking the other day, Luminous Purple and Petunia was talking the other day. She was talking about her own form of manifestation, and she was saying what she's learned to do is she's learned to manifest in pictures, not in words. So you got to remember when you're manifesting with pictures that there's also needs to be emotion in there. In order, the emotion, I think, will activate the manifestation.
I
So,
agree. And I think that's the challenge that most of us have right now is we're skipping that very vital step.
okay, so the visualization, she was saying that, so say for instance, I wanted a white round table, right? So the visualization process she's talking about is not through words. So it's just like imagining the white table, imagine where you're sitting there, imagine have fun sitting around the white table, imagine the the process of it, maybe bringing it in the house and the feeling of happiness that you might have, bringing it in the house. And it's very materialist in relation to this manifestation, and you can spread it across the board. But you've got to remember to put yourself in the picture. And you've also got to remember to put
Absolutely.
anybody else in the picture that's part of that process. So even if you're trying to manifest a relationship or something like that, then it would be very important for you to have a concept of who it was you're trying to manifest a relationship with. So even if you don't know what that person looks like, then you'd have a figure standing with your back to you or something like that. Or a
Or the
figure,
feeling you would have with that person, the feeling you desire.
yeah, or that person sitting on a chair and you bit out of focus or something, you know?
Mhm.
Um, or yeah, and the kinds of things that you would be expecting, the interactions you would be expecting to have whilst in that, or what you would be looking for, and then manifest through a series of thoughts rather than writing it down or something. I don't know. Anyway,
I agree with you, and I think most of us have cluttered emotions, to say the least. To say that they're cluttered and there's stuff that we pretend to not have to deal with. I'll wait and I'll put it off, and I don't want to do that right now. I just want to go to sleep. I don't want to think about that right now. I don't want to reframe the story. I don't want to be an alchemist and transmute that energy that I hold within my body that keeps me from being able to feel what I want to feel because
hmm
it becomes so heavy. It
yeah,
just becomes too heavy for us to carry. And I think if it's all right, Kim, this is a good time to talk about the astrology of this moment, or at least with the moon. We're in Leo's sun, and we're about to have, actually, I believe the moon is in Leo now. And so, with that, in the garden, I garden with the moon cycles. And in the garden, you would never plant seeds during a Leo moon. It's a time of pruning. So, ordinarily, we would be planting seeds, we would be setting intentions. We would be doing this kind of work with the new moon. However, I feel personally it's important for us to see ourselves pulling the weeds. And by that, I mean the stuff that weighs our heart down. It's important for us to really, I think a lot of people, in fact, I know a lot of people have had to do a really deep dive to clear out the things that have been weighing them down. People who thought they were enlightened have discovered that maybe not so much. I still have work to do. And, with that, it's important for us to clear the clutter, get rid of the stuff that we no longer use. And you can't necessarily do that with old stories, but you can shift the energy around it and see that maybe there's another way of looking at this. Maybe I can hold a different and more powerful position, take my power back, and clear some of the gremlins, if you will. Are you with me?
yeah. And also it
Right
can
on.
be, and it can be in the physical realm as well. I mean, if you're talking about decluttering
Oh, yes.
and the gardening thing, the pruning, I mean, you're saying that you're in alignment in the material world, in alignment with pruning the garden or pulling out the weeds or getting rid of the rubbish,
Mhm.
then that can also be on a physical level as well in relation to getting rid of the weeds, getting rid of the people that are the weeds out of your life and not interacting
Absolutely.
with them and not maybe embracing them quite so much because they're
I would
weeds.
say for a lot of people I know, that's been a work in progress this year. And I feel like this is a mega milestone, a Lion's Gate, if you will. People talk about 8-8. To me, it feels more like this new moon. It's a powerful moment. It's a really great moment for us to clear the clutter
Okay, so
and visualize what you do want. Like you're saying, Kim, imagine yourself using the table.
yeah, yeah, visualizing the stuff you do want,
Yes.
bring that in.
But but not at the expense of ignoring what's calling you. It's important for us to look into the shadow, if you will. It's important for us to look beneath the waters to see what is still there, what needs to be purged. It's hidden.
Okay, so we came across the word depressed and then
Yes.
looked at the word, and it was depressed can also be pronounced as deep rest, as
I
in,
think that was also Jan that brought that to your attention.
was
She
it
was on a roll. Yeah, I believe
D
so.
DEEPREST? So then
Yes.
we're going, all right, deep rest, deep rest. So I did a video many years ago about parrots with Nigel, and that was all about how Christianity presents us with the concept that our souls are active and alive from
Mhm.
birth. But the there's a scene in that it's part of that movie, Monty Python movie, and there's a scene in that where he talks about that the souls actually aren't activated, and they could be the people that we're referring to as NPCs, but
Yes.
they could have non-activated souls. And apparently, according to, well, I made sense I mean, it sounds ridiculous making sense of
No, it
the Monty
actually
Python movie.
doesn't. When you think about the imaginary friends that we know some children claim to have had, when you think of that, now I'm wondering about the NPCs. Have we conjured them up to play a role in our movie? We're creating, we're the creators, we're the producers, the authors.
I don't know. I mean, I actually don't like the idea that everybody doesn't get a chance. But then again, once you get AI involved,
And
anything's
Neptune,
possible.
it's all an illusion, right, Kim?
Yeah, it's on an illusion in the Imaginarium. So anyway, we're doing that deep rest, depressed. If you are in a depressed state, if you're still in a depressed state, or you're still angling towards a depressed state, then it's because you you're it's because you're not activating your soul. And what you need to do in order to activate your soul, in my opinion, it doesn't make me write this, is actually move out of time. So move out of being constrained by time. So we were talking earlier about one of the videos. Just getting that. Sorry.
I agree with that because like I can tell you so many people I hear them casting their spell, if you will, trying to manifest what they desire. But they'll say, we want that in 5 years. Well, wait, whoa, what? Are you manifesting it for right now or 5 years from now? Why put a restriction on it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's yours in a year.
Yeah.
Maybe you can have it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I don't like working with time. I prefer to just ask and know that if it's mine, it'll be mine.
So I did a video some time ago called "What Time Is It?" C Lock, and then in
Mhm.
brackets C Lock LOCK, and importance, right? So just rewatching that video this morning and talking about in that video, what I'm talking about is how you become encased in time and how
Mhm.
not to become encased in time. So how to how to make time not the center of your world. And then if you reverse the name time, as I've talked about before, you go into emit, which I think is your true creative state. Once you sort of stop giving focused attention to time, somebody's dinging me, and I don't know who or why or where that's coming from, but I'm
Very
getting
distracting, I'm
dings.
sure.
Yeah. Um,
I yeah, the emitting, I think we're always emitting, we're receiving and emitting. So we receive sometimes unwanted energy
yeah,
and we're also emitting a vibration and and a sound.
yeah,
We are definitely emitting. And you know, it seems to me the magicians or the Magi or the wizards um have wanted to turn things backwards. Everything is backwards. So I think it's really smart that you looked at the other way of spelling that word, like looking at the anagram of it, the opposite of time, emit.
emit. Yeah. And I think that emitting is our is our true self. That's when we
Uh, yeah,
fall into our intuition and fall into, which is the intuition, the inner
right.
learning, the inner the inner guide. And I think that
The
that's ideally where we're actually heading towards, is we're
into
heading
into
intuition.
it, ion.
Into it, ion. Into it too.
Into it. And what is it? We say it's a nice day. I often think it is source, God, you know,
Really?
the big power source. Yeah. Yeah. It because we use this word very loosely. We don't really give it much thought.
Right. I've just worked out who's talking to me.
Oh,
I
that's
just
good.
worked. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to give you a link to that video if you want to watch that again. I did it a couple of years
Yes.
ago. But it's just kind of like a sort of mindful way to sort of try and release yourself from the lockdown of time.
The other thing that came to me is, Kim, when you said sea lock, I was thinking of sea as in the ocean. So the waters, everything is water. So the sea and then the lock, we have locks in the waters as
We
well
do,
that
we do.
help to move the boats. And so now I'm thinking of the channel. So they're locking the channel,
Or
is
unlocking
it?
the channel.
Or unlocking it,
Yeah,
or
because
with the sea
yeah,
lock. They're
the
locking
sea.
the seas, they're locking the waters, they're locking the transmission
Yeah, and
with that
that
clock
with that
because
clock.
we put restrictions and say I can't until you
Yeah,
know
I know.
why
And the other
why
thing
why
is
can't
that
you? If you're inspired, have it.
I know. Agree. All right. Um, right. So the next thing I want to talk to you about was, have you finished talking about clocks and time? Have you?
I am, yeah. I
Okay.
think that might not be crystal clear for everyone, but we did talk about that in our last video too, the channel. I think we talked about channeling the channel,
No, I
did
don't
we
think we
not?
touched on that at all. The
Oh,
the latest thing that Ginger's come up with is channeling the channel. So she was talking really, really intently the other night about the idea that we're stuck in water, that we're actually in water, and that
and isn't that a fun idea? I mean, I just feel like we're at the bottom of the big blue sea.
and then in the water is all those water words like channeling the channel being the particular bandwidth or whatever frequency that you're actually channeling, and then the channel
Well, it's
being
our
the
YouTube
body of
channel.
water.
Again, we use this word very loosely.
No,
The English channel came to mind. Like I consider myself to be a channel for my highest authority.
yeah,
I receive guidance from my highest authority. And it dawned on me recently. Now, the mystic is water to me. It's the right brain. It's feminine, and it dawned on me that this channel comes through the right brain. It comes through the mystical, and it's not logical. And then I thought of the English Channel, and I realized this is also water. I've always thought of it as air, So it really struck me that even these downloads of knowledge, these big hits of information that we get, that's coming from the water. It's coming from the channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've been learning to channel the channel. Like, what is it? And again, it's all emotional energy. If you want to manifest, we have to clear.
And the other thing is when you're channeling, when you're doing, readings for people or whatever, that I think that that's how we're able to access other people's information or the
I agree.
pertinent information for other people. I mean, a lot of people perceive being psychic as like a more scientific thing where you're actually reading somebody's mind. And it's fear-based that, somebody come up to you and going, don't read my mind. Well, what's in it that you're frightened of that I'm going to hear? I mean,
Mhm.
it's never an intention on my part to read somebody's mind. I wouldn't, I'm not interested, you know, but the channel is where, to me, is where the higher self and the other person's higher self can meet in the channel. And then the other person's higher self can divulge to me the necessary information that I need to know.
100%, Kim. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's how a reading feels to me.
Yeah,
Oftentimes I'm speaking it, but I don't remember some of what I've spoken, but I can see that the person that I'm reading for is having a profound reaction to what I'm sharing. And
right.
that again, I we were talking about this earlier. I feel like I serve as a reminder to what people already know. So, if and I think that's because of what you're saying. I'm in that channel. I'm receiving information from their spirit, and I'm bringing it into the material by speaking it.
Yeah, that's what I
I'm
was.
taking it out of their head and I'm speaking it to them. And I think it freaks people out sometimes. It certainly freaks me out sometimes, but that's how we roll. This is telepathy to me.
Yeah, yeah. I agree.
But yeah,
That's
most
what
of the time
telepathy
I'm
is.
not interested. I have no interest in, zooming in on what people are doing,
No,
you know. But if I'm sitting down and doing a reading, it just that's what comes through.
yeah, it's just a channel. And
Yes.
then usually, like, you often get when you're doing readings and stuff like that, you often get people that deliberately block you, which is like,
Yes.
somebody sitting in the room going, "I'm not going to tell her anything. I'm not going to tell her anything," and and that actually makes the flow more difficult because it's like a beaver dam in the channel before you've even started. Like they've just dammed
Yeah.
up the channel with that intent.
Yes.
So you can usually tell or sense it. Like I'm being blocked here. I'm being blocked from reaching out to you. There's a blockage there. Can you remove the blockage, or can we remove the blockage together? Um. Anyway, I didn't intend to go there, but I went there. All right. So the next thing we were going to talk about was the opposition in the zodiac, the water energy in the Pisces.
things
So
are things are really changing, and part of that I think is if there's any truth to elements and astrology and this metaphysical science that we study, if there's truth in it, then if we're moving from the age of Pisces, which opposes Virgo, if we're moving from water Pisces, Virgo Earth energy into air opposing fire. So we've got, if we're moving into the age of Aquarius, then this is Aquarius, air, fire, Leo. So it's those two energies that are opposing this time around. Now, agriculturally, we didn't always have agriculture. I think that's pretty well known that agriculture is sort of not known to be a thing until more recent years. And I think that this is why. I think that, yes, the plants have always been there, but for us to be deliberate about creating the harvest, I feel that that's a more recent discovery. And it comes from that energy that we've just talked about, Virgo and Pisces. now we're moving from there to supposedly moving from there to Aquarius and Leo. So for me, that tells me that agriculturally, and it's already happening, we're going to see more plants being grown without soil. We're going to see it happening in the air. There's many air plants, and a lot of people are building towers. Our friend Pete has a very interesting system, and he's done a great job of creating just that. There's no soil. There's
Yeah,
no soil. It's just water and air. And
yeah.
yeah, I, the fire, I guess, is the intention. The harvest, again, Leo is a killing sign. It's not a time for growth per se. It's a time of, making sure that the garden is in good condition.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you shared a picture with me earlier.
Mm.
Let me share the screen again. Let me share the picture. Let's go here. And the picture you shared with me was this picture here,
Mhm.
which is pagan pentacle and then the Christian pentacle. So I didn't know the Christians had a pentacle.
Well, I didn't either.
All right.
I didn't either, but it's being suggested, I guess, maybe that if there was one, it would be our five senses. And I thought
Okay.
that's quite interesting to look at how we can see that there might be a Kim, can you zoom in on that? I'm trying real hard, but I
It's
can't see it.
really hot. There you go.
Yeah, okay,
The
so
pentacle was used by ancient Christians from 3D to 10th century, in the 14th century, to represent the five senses of Jesus Christ. The five senses are the five teachings of Jesus on how we can have an enlightened spiritual recognition to worship God. Seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, and feeling. Not only did the pentacle mean the five senses, it also represented the five wounds of Jesus Christ in the cross and his crucifixion and resurrection. I have never seen, as far as I'm concerned, the Christians that I know are frightened of the pentacle.
I agree with you. Yeah. Well,
Not,
apparently it's old wisdom and the book keeps getting rewritten even recently. So who knows? But it seems that according to this source, at least, that there was a time, and we can see them everywhere. And if you look at our star body, when we stand with our arms out and our legs spread, we are a star. We're
yeah,
all star children. I feel
yeah,
like the stars are a reflection of our light.
right. And then the other side of it is the pagan pentacles that represents Mother Earth and her beauty. Five elements of Mother Earth are air, water. Was that supposed to be? Oh, didn't it? Oh, sorry. Big clump outside. Five
Oh,
elements of Mother Earth. Air, water, earth, spirit, and fire. So that's the five elements in TCM, in traditional Chinese medicine too.
yes.
Except the spirit one becomes metal.
This is also the symbol for the female Masons, so the Order of the Eastern Star. And each segment of the pentagram or the pentacle, sorry, is colored, just like the medicine wheel.
It's like that. What came to mind there was the Nanu sign for,
Yeah,
like Star Trek Enterprise or something. I could see that in there. It's quite
yes,
interesting the way that comes around, and it never it crosses under, crosses under, crosses under, crosses under, crosses under, and crosses under, just perpetually crossing underneath the other lines.
continuous flow of energy.
Interesting. Right, that was one, which was the pentacle. And then the other one was, let's minimize that for a second. This one I found interesting. You sent this to me yesterday.
I thought it
Um,
was kind of cool too.
it's like the good and the bad side of the chakras, right? So these are the seven deadly sins. So at the crown level, you'd have to be careful with pride. Is there anything there, Rod? I'm going to pause the video for a second because I'm just,
Okay.
hang on. There, I've got to find you to, I've got to stop sharing to pause, I think. All right, I'm going to pause the recording for a minute. Right. So, what we're talking about here is, I'm just going to share the screen. And we're talking about this thing here. So, talking about as you go down through the different chakras, these would be the chakras out of balance. So at the crown level, you've got pride, and you
Yes.
get. I never like the word guru because guru, when you spell it out, it is G-U-R-U. So
Gee,
guru,
you are you.
you are you, you know.
That's cool.
And then
Never
you
thought of
get,
it like that.
your guru would be would be somebody that's presumably reached the crown chakra level, and they've got access to the higher consciousness and access to enlightenment, really, and
Yes.
become. But if they move into the seven deadly sins, then they become pride, which
Well,
is,
everything has a polarity here. There's
yeah,
an opposite for everything. So while you may have reached that level of enlightenment,
yeah,
how are you using it? Are you
yeah,
using it as a destructive force of energy,
yeah,
or are you using it as a creative force of energy? We are the God in that way. We are the generators, operators, and destroyers of these energies.
yeah. And pride is the kind of counter of it, to fall into pride. So it says
Yes.
third eye wrath. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't even know what a definition of wrath is in relation to the seven deadly sins. I mean,
To
what?
me, wrath is sort of visualizing tragedy. You know, if you're constantly expecting the sky to fall along with these nefarious narrators that we're having to listen to, then you're going to have the sky fall. You're creating. So if you're creating with a wrathful third eye, you can see that again, the polarity.
So it says there,
Our superpower is in our reaction and our choices.
wrath is described as riding a lion and brandishing a burning sword.
Well,
The overwhelming fear for desire for revenge distinguishes wrath from anger, and it's balanced with reason, which is not a sin. Mhm. I didn't realize that I suppose the seven deadly sins would be a Christian philosophy.
well, the
So,
wrath of a woman, hell hath no fury than the wrath of a woman scorned, they say, right? Like, where does that? I don't know what that's from. Hell hath no fury. Then I don't know. Maybe I've got it wrong. Couldn't be the first time. And it's getting late here, but I'm good. I
okay.
think we'll know soon.
Well, if you fall asleep, I'll let you know. All right.
Okay.
Okay. So third eye, the counter for its wrath. So, like going into revenge or something, really?
That's what it feels like to me. It feels kind of combative, like, wishing ill will or imagining ill will.
Yeah, I suppose. Oh, yeah. I mean, I come back to that booming voice in my head, right, which says, "Kim, do not instill your fears into others."
Yes.
And that sort of like, I suppose the third eye could be damaging in that respect because you could
Well,
perceive things for others which could be damaging.
and we see it playing out on the big screen. They plant these seeds, this predictive programming, I feel, is about what they show us. And then we subsequently create it because I feel like that's the whole point for Hollywood, and the music industry. It's to get us to think about what they want to create.
No. Oh, absolutely. I sit on that completely. I don't think that there's any power in their part. It's us that have got the power So they have to inspire us to create that reality. And that's kind of along the lines of all the gnosis stuff as well. The what was that religion called? The gnosis,
Gnostic,
Gnostic. That's what I'm thinking of. Gnostic.
which
That's what the
which is
Gnostics.
about it's about the knowing.
Yeah,
It's about having faith in your intuition and your instincts and
yeah, yeah,
that channel, that channel that's telling you to bring an umbrella because
yeah,
it cares,
yeah,
opposed to the inner critic. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't like my channel." The inner critic looks like that. It's very wrathful. It's like, look at you. You should lose 10 pounds or, you should get a haircut or whatever it's telling you. There's an inner critic in all of us,
yeah,
but it's up to us to tame it.
yeah. So the throat's gluttony. I mean, gluttony is kind of like pigging out, I suppose, eating too
Yeah.
much.
But
And
here we've got the Taurus field. So the throat is represented by Taurus, the bull. And so it can be quite stubborn and silent. And, one of the problems in this world, I think, is that we have a silent majority. We're not speaking
yeah,
authentically, sorry.
yeah,
And, so I think that's a big part of the problem. There's a great amount of fear attached to everything.
yeah.
And so the fear of speaking your truth. And the gluttony, I think, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's from speaking too much because, like, how would that connect to the Taurus field, the throat?
I I think that you're more right. I think that rather than gluttony, there it should be not speaking your truth. It should be not being authentic. But it
Hmm.
says gluttony, so it's kind of food related. I don't know
So,
another way gluttony could be defined other than through food.
glutton for punishment, somebody who lies a lot, a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, I
Is
suppose
that
so.
is that a thing?
Yeah, yeah,
Because I mean, really, don't lie. We know you're lying. It's 2024. A lot of people are figuring this out.
yeah, exactly. Why bother?
Say that, say that we're not going to confront you. We know you won't take responsibility. So
Yeah,
just don't bother lying.
yeah. Like, why lie to me?
Yeah, why lie? So that would be a negative energy around the throat chakra, speaking authentically opposed to, you know, doling it out. Really? You were tied up in traffic? You want me
Mm,
to believe that?
mm,
Okay. You've lost all credibility. You're a
mm,
glutton for punishment.
mm.
You wonder why you don't advance.
Yeah, that,
You have no credibility. You have
yeah,
no integrity. You're lying. I don't
okay.
know. That's how I'm connecting it to the
That's
word
cool.
gluttony.
That's
Yeah.
cool. So heart and then greed. Again, heart.
A
That's
generous
funny.
heart,
It's
a generous heart opposed to somebody who's living in scarcity, and full of fear might become greedy.
I found that the heart imbalanced is very fickle, a fickle heart. Um, the imbalance of somebody who's got an imbalanced heart comes out as, well, I suppose, lack of generosity,
Lack of generosity, maybe
which is
lack of
greed.
affect, maybe lack of affection,
Yeah,
where the heart, the positive would be affectionate
yeah,
and caring opposed to cold and without affection
and not prepared to give anything.
and
It's
not
all
prepared
it's
to
all about
yeah, can't
me.
be bothered like a narcissist, right?
It's all
It's
about
me,
me,
it's all about me, I, and I.
mine, 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 mine. I used to love saying that.
Yeah,
Mine, mine, mine. All right, and then got solar plexus sloth. So
that makes sense.
okay, sloth's laziness, isn't it?
Correct. Well, it's a slow moving creature, and we can be a kind of a slow moving creature at times. I know I was this morning getting out of bed. It was a bit of a challenge. I was pretty comfy, but you find your inspiration and you move. So, but some people they can't quite see how to do this, and they get stuck from fear, I feel, and especially in this moment, people are failing to take action and they know what to do, but they're saying, oh, well, 5 years, back to that again, right? 5 years from now, I'm not going to do it until. Well, you better tell yourself another story because you're going to get yourself stuck. You're going to sit and wait. You
Mm.
don't want to do that. You want to say maybe something like, I'm really, grateful for what I can do today and focus on what you can do. And if you cannot accomplish or if there's something prohibiting you from moving forward for 5 years, it's something you're going to have to stop focusing on because I feel that that time will become quite stagnant and you're not going to be able to manifest other things, so maybe there's other things. And to do that, you have to take action. And that's the solar plexus.
But sometimes you can't take action because the action required might require a resource that you don't have available to yourself. So,
Absolutely.
and a lot of people, including myself, get stuck in this idea that you can't take action because you haven't got enough money to take the action that you think that you need in order to do what you need to do. And therefore, you end up in this like mindset of loop of being
Mhm.
unable to move forward. But it's actually quite damaging. If you sit in that cycle too long, it can really, really get you stuck.
I
And
do know
someone,
someone that was singing that song for quite a long while, and they were becoming depressed because the focus was on waiting instead of, celebrating each moment. Thank you for
yeah,
my pillow. Thank you for this beautiful cup of coffee.
yeah,
Instead of spending time in gratitude, we're spending time in, oh, poor me, I can't have what I want for 5 years.
mm-hmm.
If that's the case, if there is something prohibiting you from reaching that, then you have to accept that and know that if it's yours, it will be yours when the time is right.
Well, I know that when I was thinking about selling my house, one of the reasons that I didn't want to sell my house was because I didn't have the money to move. I thought, well,
Hmm.
what's the point in selling my house? I haven't got the money to move. If I haven't got the money to do the things that I need to do in order to move, then why am I putting that pressure on myself? And eventually I did it. And I think I said it before on the channel that I was going to write a book about how to make a move without any money.
Yes, you did. And I think you should, because it really was about what, Kim? I think from my point of view, you put your faith in the best possible outcome.
Yeah,
You knew from hindsight, you can see how it always works out.
yeah. I
And you
had it.
said, no, no, not today, fear. I'm not playing with you. I
Yeah,
got other things to do. I'm
yeah,
so busy, I can't think about you. I
yeah,
can't give you my attention. I've got all my energy invested in the next step, the next step, the next step. And lo and behold, you got it done. Everything fell into place.
yeah.
And faster, I've moved a lot. I'm really impressed with how you did everything.
I think it was 5 weeks, something from beginning to
Ama-
end, or 7 weeks, something from beginning to end. Like, it was very, very quick. But the
At
sloth
its
in me
finest.
was keeping me in the old place where I
Yeah.
was saying, I can't do this because there's a blockage here. I've not got enough money to do this. I'd be stupid to do this right now because I haven't got enough money to see this through. And I'm just
Hmm.
going to put an enormous pressure on myself. But it also makes you, if you sit in it for too long, it messes you up. Anything actually at the moment, I mean, I'm talking about universal here. Any anguish that you sit in too long
Hmm.
becomes very, very, very toxic.
Quite
It
heavy.
becomes very, very uncomfortable to deal with it. And I think that's
And the body,
sloth.
you're right. And in that sloth is going to attack you from the inside out,
Yeah,
whether it's mentally, physically.
yeah,
It's like I call them messengers.
mm,
If I have pain, I have to ask myself why, and then follow the breadcrumbs and not dismiss the messages. It's important for us to make adjustments. Sometimes what worked for us last month doesn't work for us.
this is really clever, whoever did this design. It's very clever. All
Can't
right.
argue. Yeah,
Thank
very
you,
good.
whoever USD is or
Yes.
YSD. So beneath that we've got sacral, and then we've got envy. Um, okay, well, actually, when Neil Donald Walsh did his book, Compositions of God, he goes into envy a bit. Um, and like in some ways, he says envy's not such a bad thing because envy's part of manifestation.
Mhm.
Like, say for instance, I want a bicycle, and then for 10 days in a row, I see somebody riding different bikes up and down my street, and I'm going, no, I really want one of those. I really want one of those.
I
Mm.
don't think that's envy. That's desire. That's
All
desire. It's natural for us to mimic.
right. Okay, so if I was to run out in the street and push them off the bike and take the bike, would that be envy?
That would be envy. That might be greed and gluttony and lust. It might be all of them. I think you've hit the jackpot.
All right.
Bingo.
All right, because he was like describing envy as like jealousy, as like um it's not an emotion that I don't experience it very. Do you experience envy much?
No, not anymore. I don't know if I ever did really. I could say that there was times I was jealous. Is that the same? Envious, jealous? I guess so. And so yeah, there've been times as a much younger person I was jealous. But that's not something I don't live like that now. That's
No,
not my vibration.
no.
I'm happy for people. I am inspired by people. You know, if it's something that it's right for me, it'll be mine. I have a very different philosophy now, but yeah, I'll own it. It's something that as a very young child, I can remember feeling very jealous. As a young woman with the wrong partner, you can be feeling insecure. And, so it's like in that case, it sort of brings you to a turning point. You
So,
know, I
so,
have to do something about this. It sort of forces you to take action.
so envious of somebody else's relationship, looking at somebody else's relationship and saying, "I wish
I
I
think
had a
so.
relationship like that." Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. People will say, oh, they're so lucky. It's like, well, no, they've worked hard for that. It's
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with luck. It's about doing the work. You know, if we don't show up for ourselves, we cannot manifest. We're not going to be able to manifest very well. We
Mm-hmm.
have to be in a very high vibration, and that includes chopping wood, carrying water. You and I have talked about that before, Kim. You
Mm-hmm.
get all enlightened, and now what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to
Chop wood,
chop wood,
carry
carry
water.
water.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's still work to do, right?
yeah, yeah.
So we're
Okay.
still here in the material. So it's not like we don't get to float off. Just because we have the knowing or some knowing.
So, and then the last one's root lust.
Oh yeah, well, this is your sex organs. So this is where you would have your sexual desires,
Mm-hmm.
and that can be really twisted. I can see why they've got like devil's horns there,
Mm-hmm.
horny little devil, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, but it's also reproductive. Without lust, we cannot reproduce. It's red like Mars. It kind of reminds me of Mars,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a bit um sex is, I know animals, for example, can become uncomfortable. They get scared if they're in the same space as people in that moment. They're not too happy about that. They're like, hey, what's going on? Are you two fighting? Like, they're not sure how to read that.
Okay.
Better to
Right.
keep them out. Kick them out. Don't let them in here. Yeah, just too complicated. It's already complicated.
That's funny. All right, let's just not
Well,
go there.
I speak from experience. I'm owning it.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna shut that one down.
Yeah,
And
but
then
really great to look at that. One other thing comes to mind for me here, Kim. We talk about clearing, but I used similar tool. I just sort of sat one day and as I was journaling and instead of writing about how grateful I am for everything, I said, where am I depressed? Where am I feeling weak? Where am I feeling like, and I went through a number of negative words. You know, where do I feel shame? Where do I feel fear? And I went through everything and I asked how it was feeling in my body. Where does that come from? And one by one, I was given little to nothing because I think overall, a lot of us have done a tremendous amount of work to clear, but it revealed itself very, very well. And from there, you've got a clearer picture of the work in front of you. So it was a bit of a journaling exercise that was really beneficial to clear the energy. You could use that chart. Where do I feel like an imbalance in my pride? You know, where do I feel maybe a little sloth and why? You know, you can dive in and learn a lot
I
from the
used
negative.
I used to be able to do that with panic attacks, you know, if I could, like, I don't get them so much these days, but before I used to get these panic attacks, and then I wouldn't really be able to recognize what I was panicking about.
Hmm.
So I think I would start with the same concept, start moving through my chakras and thinking, you know, is it in the crown? Is it in the third eye? And then just try and focus on that. And by the time I got down to the root, in general speaking terms, it had gone, it had diffused
Hmm.
without me even recognizing. I could sort of recognize where it wasn't, but when it got to where it was, I could diffuse it that way.
Yes.
Random feel.
Yes, because you're really honing in on it, giving it some attention.
Yeah,
We're not showing it fear. If
no,
anything, we're showing it compassion
yeah,
because it is trying to teach us.
yeah.
So there's always everything that's negative is positive, and everything that's positive is negative because that's how it is in this realm.
Okay, so the next subject is a little bit dicky, which is about the Olympics currently that are going on in Paris. Okay,
Oh
so
boy.
we did a little bit of research earlier, and one of the things that we discovered is Paris is known as the City of Lights. We were looking at the Eiffel Tower, and we were looking at the wording of that Eiffel Tower. So,
And there's two ways of spelling I here. We've got us, single letter, and EYE. So the third eye, the eye fell.
so Luminous Purple Petunia again. She sent me a video of. She sent me a number of videos of the Paris Olympics, and I'm just going to show you this one. I can probably post a link for this in the chat, but it's on Instagram. Okay, I'm not going to bother with the sound of it. So this is like the Eiffel Tower, and it's got all these light beams all over it. And it starts off like that, like completely random, like random bursts of light. Can't fast forward it, so I'll let it go through its stuff,
It reminds me of a hydro tower.
right? And then, as you see, there's like relatively spaced, and then it gets really, really, really complex with all the different lights that are coming off it. It's like I don't know whether it's depicting something with regards to Wi-Fi, um, like the complexity of the Wi-Fi. It's like everywhere and all the time, and then that could be complicating our realm hugely. Like just this inundation of Wi-Fi everywhere. It could be depicting that. Or look at that, it just gets intense and more intense and more intense. Um, so I often think that the Olympics are predictive programming, and I don't know whether,
100%. Oh yeah, we saw it
yeah,
in the
yeah,
last, yes,
exactly, yeah, with the Grim Reaper and all the hospital beds and all the rest of it. So this one
yes.
seemed to be focused on the Last Supper. There's a huge thing with that, and the white horse. So the white horse of the apocalypse is the second coming of Christ. That's what it's supposed to symbolize. So we just kind of had a bit of a chat about that. Maybe they're trying to bring on the um I mean, I'm not necessarily talking about this from a Christian perspective, even though it is a Christian concept. So I don't know, maybe they're trying to bring on the second coming of Christ or something, or they're predicting that.
Well, they've been doing this for a long while. People are looking for a guru. They're looking for a messiah, a savior, rather than looking within. It's very challenging for people to take responsibility for the world that we live in, but we're creating it. If we're catching on to this whole manifestation thing, we have to soon catch on to the fact that we consent, we create. Now, the lights, I see the matrix, Kim. It reminds me of like the internet. You were saying Wi-Fi. I'm seeing like a net. I always think of the net over us, like they've captured us. And
Right.
this is also a phallic symbol, and like they're shooting it everywhere, every which way. And yeah, it's also the Tower of Babel comes to mind. You know, this is a tower moment.
Mm. I just can't believe the complexity of that. It's like huge. It just sort of amplifies up and becomes very, very, very complex.
Well, and it's
Like
also
that,
associated with Mars. I was looking at the etymology of it. I wonder if
right?
I still have it open. Eiffel Tower you can find on Etym Online, and it was erected in the Champ de Mars for the Paris Universal
Wow.
Exposition of 1889. Now, 1888 is a very interesting year in Canada from my point of view because every parliament building, all the buildings seem to be built or not built, let's say it right. They were founded in 1888. So somebody found these buildings in 1888, but they don't
Um,
know where they came from. Yeah, they didn't. And then the official story is, oh yeah, we built it in 60 days. Not likely. And it's a big question mark that I have. So that rings an alarm for me, the 1889 erection of this Eiffel Tower, Eiffel Tower, and it was the world's largest structure at that time.
and then you wanted to break down the word Olympics, and you were saying that the IC at the end was standing
The
out to you.
It does because it's astrological and there's a Latin word for it, and I'm not going to really do it very well, but I'll try. I'm Coeli, and so what the Coeli is telling us is about it's about the bowel, and I found that interesting because I think head to toe we're Aries to Pisces, the feet, and Aries the head, Pisces the feet. The bowel is Virgo, and Virgo is ruled by Venus. Venus connects back to France. We'll go there in a minute, and uh, and why it's the city of lights because Venus is Lucifer, the morning and evening star, and so yeah, it's a very interesting energy. Um, the lights. What was I saying, Kim? What was you? How did you get me here?
Through the IC.
Oh yeah, sorry, thank you. So the IC is it's it's the root, it's our root, it's the beginning, it's our home life, it's the challenges that we may have faced early on, our vulnerabilities. It's us in a very weak pose, and then there's the highest possible outcome. So for it's like the positive and the negative. The highest possible outcome is the midheaven, and this is the MC. This is describing our destiny, our career path. And so that's always in the 10th house, the MC. The 10th house is Capricorn, the house of careers and hard work and many lessons, but that's our best possible outcome. That's what we're here to do.
Mm.
And the opposite expression would be our shadow. what keeps us from our destiny.
Right.
So it's an interesting thing to look at. And then so the I see here on the end of that word and so many others, mystic, psychic, that always stands out to me.
I see.
I see.
Oh, I see. All right. And what about the first part of the word? What about Olymp,
Oh,
Olymp,
limp. Oh, the O
Olymp?
is limp. The O, so from the nothing, it's limp or lymph, lymphatic. The waters again. The I fell. The I fell. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Olympic.
Oh, limp. Oh, the O is the nothing, the zero. Oh, we owe. What do we owe? You know, oh,
I've definitely got to come back to IEIOU. Like, why AEIOU? Why do I owe you anything?
that's right.
AEIOU.
That's right.
Don't like it. All
Don't
right.
like it either. And the limp is too close to the word lymph. And I feel that this year, a lot of people are suffering from, well, stagnation. And with that, because they're failing to maybe act on what they know they need to do. And with that, the waters are stagnant, and the waters are the lymphatic system. And it's important for us to keep things flowing and the channels open and not locked.
It says, this is because this is the etymology page, the etymology dictionary that you gave me a link to.
Yes.
It says 10 top trending words. One is solfege. It's a frequency.
Yeah. Sometimes
Debauch.
the trending words make me smile because I can see that people are interested and they're learning and they're asking good questions. So I think that's, very important.
Why would Fox be in the news? Why would be
Good
Fox be
question.
there?
Yeah, good question.
Gymnasium, Olympic, Covenant, Justice, John,
Olympic
Literature.
is there. I
Yeah.
just clicked on Olympic.
Okay.
It's the mountain in Thessaly, believed to be the home of the greater Greek gods.
Ah,
Hmm.
okay. All right.
A town or district in Ellis. So it reminds me of Ellis Island in ancient Greece, with a famous temple of Zeus, which is AKA Jesus. Hey, Zeus,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm.
Olympian Zeus, 776 BCE, and every 4 years thereafter. It's from Greek Olympikos, and then it goes on, places of unknown origin. The modern games are a revival, begun in 1896. And the Olympics, short for Olympic game, is from 1630s.
Mm. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know whether you got anything else you want to talk about before we finish this.
No, hopefully, because that was kind of a boring end. The other thing about, yeah, so freedom. We were talking about France, the Liberty Caps. It's all about, so we did talk about this previously in one of our videos about the this coming Olympics. And I can't remember why we
We
were
can't
looking
find
at it.
it. We can't find
Yeah,
it. We went
it's
looking
in
for
one
it,
of our videos. Help
and
us
then
if you can.
Nigel did one about the Liberty Cap too, and I think I did it with him, but I can't find that one either. I went on to
No, we
Nigel's.
did it. It was you and I, Kim. We
Okay.
did it, and I remember the mascots. They had little mascots that looked like the Liberty hat, and they were red, white, and blue. And one of them had looked like a little pyramid with its one eye. And yeah, it was very phallic. We had quite a
Must
discussion about it.
it must have been very early on because
Yeah, I think it was. We were talking about, what's coming up, and I can't remember why we went there. Maybe we were looking at Oh, we did talk about the Olympics in another video. So maybe we were looking at it for that reason,
yeah.
comparing it, looking ahead. Regardless, we saw these little characters and thought that everybody would be wearing little red hats this time of year. And yeah, I find it interesting that it ends, I think it ends on August 11th.
Yeah.
which is the time of the meteorite shower from the Pleiades. So the Pleiadian meteorites will be igniting at that time. We'll
So
begin to see this tremendous show, weather permitting, of course.
right.
But
That'll
I
be
think
part of the
that,
closing. Will that be part of the
yeah,
closing ceremony, you think?
no, they won't acknowledge the Palladian lights, but they are going to light that tower up. And I've been calling for a long time about a big flashy light moment, and
Right.
that feels like it. It feels like they're prepping us for something.
Yeah. I agree.
Thing also kind of looks like a needle, but it certainly every time I see tower, I think this is the time when the Tower of Bob bat like as the story goes, the tower falls,
Yeah.
you know, and this is what's happening. It's a tower moment, but not for us per se. It's for these narrators.
Yeah.
It's for that force of energy. It won't belong where we're headed.
No. I
We're
agree.
cleaning it up, cleaning the swamp.
Right. I'm going to cut it off there. Any comments, as usual, just make a comment below. And thanks for listening, and see you later.
Bye for now. All
Bye.
the best. Bye. Thanks, Kim.